Okay, you're now live.
Great, and good evening, and thank you for joining us for this special community conversation for October 19th with Mammoth Resorts President and Chief Operating Officer Mark Brownlie and the town of Mammoth Lakes as we look forward to winter. I'm Stuart Brown, Parks and Recreation Director and Public Information Officer for the town of Mammoth Lakes and County Emergency Operations Centre. I would like to thank Mark and his team, senior leadership team, for speaking to the community this evening regarding eagerly awaited winter operations for both Mammoth and June Mountain. Town Manager Dan Holler will also speak to the town's planning for winter and dealing with the many challenges imposed on us from COVID-19. A recording of this presentation will be posted to the Mona County COVID-19 portal and is also streaming live on the town's Facebook page. The next scheduled COVID-19 community conversation is Thursday, November 5th. At this time, I would like to invite Town Manager Dan Holler to say a few words about the collaborative preparations that have been taking place for the past several months and to welcome Mark and his team for this evening's special community conversation. Dan.
Thank you, Stu, and to those joining us here on the Zoom call as well as Facebook Live, welcome. Welcome to the Mammoth Resorts team who will be speaking to us here shortly. We have been working very diligently through this past summer and even actually last winter with our community partners, with Mammoth Resorts and others, as we work our way through the COVID-19 pandemic. We have continued to do so and really ramped up our collaborative efforts the last several months as we look forward to this coming winter. The town is taking a number of steps. I just want to highlight a couple of those as we all work in this together as a community. It takes all of us coming together to make us have a successful winter. The town, as with others, are committed to keeping our staff healthy and safe as we work through this winter, as our staff commit to keeping our roads clear and snow, and hopefully they're very busy this winter, as well as just how we're going to operate given the limits of COVID-19 and the potential impact from that disease in our community. We will be continuing to remind our employees, residents, and visitors, kind of a 4 W's, you know, wear a face covering, wash your hands, watch your physical and social distancing, and when ill, stay home. But as we look at the winter demands on us, a couple of things we're doing in the town that are important is we're adding some staff capacity to our snow removal capabilities. We will have our employees working in smaller teams that are dedicated. So if we do have a problem pop up with COVID or illness, that our exposure is limited so we can continue to meet our public service demands. We're also looking at enhancing our ability to clear around our transit stops and other areas as needed so we can meet social distancing requirements as we expect a busy winter season. And then also working with ESTA on how do we add some additional transit services throughout the winter based on the limited capacity that we can place on our buses, and to make sure again that people are serviced well. We'll continue to monitor and work through that throughout the winter. And we'll also be implementing a community/trail host program in a number of key areas throughout the community so we can engage directly with our guests and visitors as they arrive in the town of Mammoth Lakes, so they can get good information on what to do here in the Eastern Sierra region, as well as enjoying the skiing and riding at Mammoth Resorts. These efforts are designed to complement all the activities throughout the winter. And we look forward actually to this helping us have a very successful winter season, both here in the Eastern Sierra and specifically here in the town of Mammoth Lakes. This evening, we've asked Mayor Bill Sauser, who's with us, to also provide a couple of introductory comments before transitioning into a detailed discussion with Mammoth Resorts. Bill?
Thank you, Dan. I'd like to extend a hearty thank you to all of our partners that have been working together in these incredibly tough times to address the operations throughout this past summer and the collaborative efforts in planning for this winter. These efforts include ongoing discussions and planning with many partners: the town of Mammoth Lakes, Mammoth Resorts, Mona County, Mammoth Lakes Tourism, ESTA, Public Health, and the Emergency Operations Center. And most importantly, you, the citizens of Mammoth Lakes. Frontline workers, business owners, it's up to all of us to work together to create as successful winter season as possible for the town and people of Mammoth Lakes. Important for you business owners, you hear that the town is implementing some special practices for workers, and I'm sure you'll hear the same thing from the mountain, as we've discussed this already. Important for you, the small businessman, to make those same plans, so if an infection hits, you don't lose all of your employees. That being said, I will now turn this over to Mark Brownlie and the Mammoth Lakes Resort crew. Mark, it's all yours.
Thanks very much, Bill. Good evening, everyone from a smoky Mammoth. I apologize if I'm a little bit raspy at times. What a year 2020 has been. Since we closed Mammoth in June Mountains for winter operations on the 15th of March, 2020, there's been a lot of angst and hardship in our community and our nation. And as always, our thoughts and best wishes are with all of our people. During this period of time, I've been very proud of the collaboration with our community as we figure out the pathway back to normal. During the summer, we've worked very closely with the Town of Mammoth Lakes, Montgomery Public Health Office, the Forest Service, and many others to reopen our summer businesses. During that period of time, the number one priority for Mammoth and our community has been the safety of our people, and this will continue to be our guiding principle as we go forward at Mammoth and June Mountains. I'd like to thank anyone who's visited us or enjoyed outdoor recreation during this time for respecting our social distancing and mask protocols. They've gone a long way to getting us open, but most importantly, keeping us open safely within our community. As we continue to plan for the upcoming winter, we'll build on this collaborative efforts with the Forest Service, the Town of Mammoth Lakes, Tom Boo and the Montgomery Office of Public Health, and also our own Alterra Mountain Company, Ski California, and the National Ski Areas Association as we formalize winter operating plans to keep our community safe and allow people to enjoy our wonderful environment. I'd like to take a moment to share with you of how those operating plans are developing. I mentioned the National Ski Areas Association. They have developed a guidebook called Ski Well, Be Well. That really sits at the top of our guiding best practices across the nation. We'll share a couple of those slides with you just to give you a feel, and we'll share the link as well during the presentation. From the National Ski Areas Guidebook, we then take our own Alterra Mountain Company and we bolt on our COVID contingency planning as well as our COVID operating planning. And they sit across all of our resorts at an Alterra level. From there, we work with local and state entities to get the specifics of our regions as well as our counties. At Mammoth and June, that's working with the Town of Mammoth Lakes, the Forest Service, and also the Montgomery Public Health Office. Those guidances and ordinances inform the next level of planning at Mammoth in June. We'll come out with resort operating plans based on those guidances, and they get delivered at a frontline operating capacity through all of our individual departments. This is a lot of work. It's thousands of pages. Our team have been very diligent and have left no stone unturned as we're developing those plans. They do change on a daily basis. So we don't have the specifics right now as we're still a month away from opening. And we'll share with our people those plans when they're formulated closer to winter. At Mammoth and June Mountains, we have values. They've been in place since the founding of our ski area by Dave McCoy. And those values are people, integrity, collaboration, environment, and fun. We're waiting for the fun of winter to come, and hopefully that's just around the corner. These have remained the same since the days of Dave, as I said. And as I was thinking about this meeting last week, I thought about what Dave would interpret our current situation as. And I think, knowing Dave a little bit, there would be a skiing analogy going on. And we're really in vague times. We're trying to head towards winter as best we can. We're trying to operate on a daily basis as best we can. And I tend to think of it a little bit like skiing in flat light. You're at the top of the run. The horizon's very murky and it's difficult to see. And during those vague times when it's hard to have confidence, it's very easy to move to the heels of your feet. When you're on the heels of your feet, every little tremor and vibration, that's not to say we don't have perfect grooming at Mammoth in June, but you feel every single tremor through your heels, and it's very rattling to your confidence. If you can get more towards the balls of your feet in a ready position, it's much easier to navigate your way to the bottom of the ski run safely and with confidence. And our constant planning is our mountains being on the balls of our feet and trying to be ready for the coming winter. We have many plans. We're not sure which one it'll take to operate safely, but our team's been very diligent in the planning process, and they are experts in this field, and we are on the balls of our feet. As we do go towards winter, I can share with you a few priorities that I do know. I do know that we will require the use of face masks at Mammoth in June. Indoors, outdoors, on the ski lifts, 100% compliance to that requirement will be asked for. You'll be able to drop your mask as you're dropping into ski or line because you'll be socially distanced. That's the other requirement that we will have. Dan mentioned cleanliness and sanitation. We definitely have those requirements, but for our people, we're going to require social distancing. There'll be social distancing indoors and outdoors, as I said, but also on the ski lifts and also while we're skiing. We need to space out and do things safely. We also know that we're going to prioritize icon pass holders and local pass holders as we move into the winter. We will not require a reservation system for these pass holders at this time. We do have some very busy days at Mammoth and at June. There may be not as many as what people may imagine. At Mammoth, we have a very large capacity with our lift infrastructure of 60,000 people per hour uphill. So the days that we feel are impacted are probably in the region of 15, to give you a feel for it. On those days, we're going to severely restrict the sales of paid daily lift tickets. We've also eliminated walk-up daily ticket sales at the ticket window on those days, as well as different group undated access products. And we know by limiting those sales, we can manage our capacity at both Mammoth and June. We do know that. And some other business units that we have, to give you a flavor of how we're thinking about winter, we're going to operate very safely, and we're not going to open the floodgate too quickly on all of our operations. In ski school, that means that we're only going to sell private lessons to begin with. So people in same families or like groups will be in the same group with that instructor with face masks, obviously, but we won't be introducing strangers in a group lesson. In our hospitality division, we'll continue to operate as we have done for this entire summer. We'll be working with Tom and Dan and adhering to local ordinances. That's operating at 70% occupancies. It's also enhanced sanitization methodologies and keeping rooms vacant for a 24-hour period between guests arriving. In our food and beverage, as I'm sure everyone is interested to know, we have operated throughout the summer, and most recently we have indoor as well as outdoor dining programs. The indoor dining is at 50% capacity, and we're assuming that to start the winter. We have taken around $1 million of capital and deployed it to support all of these business unit operations and opening safely for winter operations. We've spent this money on changing some of the indoor seating design of our lodges. We're very fortunate that we have big lodges. We have very nice weather most of the time, so outdoor seating has been a focus, and menu development in order to facilitate grab and go items, as well as mobile ordering options to give people that quick service and not have people in the same area quite so much as previously. We've also increased locker room capacities and some portable locker room facilities to keep our team safe so that we can operate in different pods and allow our team members to not all be in one location so that we can open the mountain safely and remain open, and we don't have any infections through a large group of similar employees. And we've also invested a ton of money in disinfection equipment, electrostatic sprayers, PPE, etc., etc. So that's a broad flavor of how we're going to do business for this coming winter. As I said, things change daily and we're adapting all the time. As we do head towards winter, before I hand it over to Lauren Burke, our Director of Communications, to facilitate the Q&A this evening, the number one question I've been asked is, are we going to open on the 14th of November at Mammoth and the 19th of December at June Mountain? I get asked that every year, and in a normal year, I'd say it's very challenging. We have the best operations teams in the business, and we strive to hit those dates no matter what. What I do know in this unique environment that we're in is that having one strip of white snow on Broadway and Chair 1 may not make it possible to adhere to social distancing. And we may have to adapt our opening and our operating plan in and around what Mother Nature delivers to us, both in a natural sense from snowfall as well as man-made snow. So we'll keep you informed as best we can closer to the time. Right now, we're aiming for those dates. We're always confident. We know that Dave was smart where he put Mammoth in June, and we're lucky. And the snow will come even in a potential La Nina year, which average snow is maybe normal for us, and we're very fortunate. So having said all of that, I'd like to pass it on to LB to ask questions on your behalf and to answer them for the next period of time.
Thanks, Mark. I'd like to encourage everyone that's on to drop in their questions either in the Zoom Q&A or in the Facebook Live. And the first question is for Mark: how and who will enforce the mask requirement?
You know, at the mountain, we've been enforcing it through our host program, as well as our managers and our frontline employees, as well as occasionally our security department. We haven't felt the need to bring in outside local law enforcement at all. And we continue to encourage our guests to be part of our team. And we haven't really had very many instances at Mammoth Mountain where we've had conflict in guests not wanting to respect those ordinances and keep each other safe. Having said that, we are 100% committed to having everyone use a mask, and we will be committing to that going forward throughout the winter, whatever means that it does take to make that happen.
Will there be any kind of requirements for the type of face covering that one wears? A lot of ski gaiters and face masks have substantial air holes around the nose and mouth area to allow breath to get out more efficiently, and so goggles don't fog. That would not be effective for COVID purposes.
Yeah, we know at present that the scientific analysis, and we've worked with Tom and others on this, definitely does not allow for the use of a single layer buff. So those will not be acceptable. Double layer buffs will be acceptable at this time, as are all other double layer face masks that are available, as well as, you know, the more compliant N95 type masks, et cetera, but double layer is a minimum standard for us.
I was under the impression there would be no walk-up ticket purchases. Is this just on certain days?
We're going to start out the season with no walk-up day of purchases. We will be able to still facilitate some guest services at our ticket stations, but in order to make sure that we really restrict capacity and that our message comes across loud and clear, you will not be able to purchase a ticket at a ticket window for the coming winter at present. as things change and hopefully they change for the better, we'll be reviewing that policy.
What dates do you see having limitations on ticket sales?
I think, for everyone who's a committed Mammoth in June skier, the dates are very much those peak Saturdays of the season, which are either side of President's, MLK, and a number of others on either side of the holidays, and depending on the weather as well. If we're having a bomber ski season, some of those Saturdays will definitely have restricted paid ticket visitation, just as we get a handle on how the market's responding. We do believe within the new normal that a lot of people will be adapting their visitation. We have flexible learning programs, flexible work environments, and we've had a ton of feedback, even in the summer, by visitation behavior, that people are now starting to visit Monday through Thursday more than they have ever in the past. So we'll be analyzing that on a week-by-week basis.
And there are a few questions similar to this, but I think this question should cover it. Have there been discussions on our local students who typically walk up to buy their $5 day pass? Can there be a student pass to keep our kids on the mountain?
If I address that more broadly, I think a lot of that is related to ski and snowboard PE programs that exist within the whole of the Eastern Sierra region. And at present, we're working with our local school management to see if those programs are viable for the kids to come and enjoy the mountain in those formalized programs. Excuse me. Those programs are hard to manage in the current COVID best practices. They involve a lot of transportation. So we are working on those going forward. What I do know is that we love having our mountain be accessible to all of our community within the region, and we'll continue to figure out ways to honor local education ski products as we go forward.
Do you foresee lengthening the operating season, weather permitting, for Canyon and Eagle Lodges to lessen the load on Maine?
We always consider all of our options with the other lodges, depending on snow. Specifically to COVID, depending on demand, we'll definitely be reviewing that as we get closer to Easter. But that's a normal operating protocol for our company. We obviously have a big mountain that requires a lot of maintenance in the summer, and actually shutting down different parts of Mammoth allows us to facilitate preventative maintenance on our lifts, replacing whole ropes, grips on the chairs, etc., etc. So there is a lot to do, but we always consider those options based on demand, and the same is true for COVID operating planning. If there's a lot of visitation and we need to have our people space out more to comply with social distancing, we'll definitely consider it.
And grouping in a few questions regarding this, what are the plans for providing COVID tests for employees? Or will infection identification be based on having symptoms, temperature checks, etc.?
So if I talk a little bit about summer and our partnership with the town, the hospital, and the public health office, we opened for business in our hotels around the 18th of June this summer. And we've remained open since, notwithstanding fire activity, obviously. But during that period of time, we have had COVID positive cases within the community, obviously, but also within our team at Mammoth. Our partnerships allowed us to have top-notch responses to those, and we've been able to contact trace on a very efficient manner and quarantine those employees and look after them and make sure that we stop the spread. We will continue those programs. During the summer, we also tested a large number of our food and beverage employees as part of a systematic process with the county. And we are looking at those programs going forward. We know in certain areas as we go into winter, we will have formalized testing protocols within certain areas, but we're still working on the efficiencies of doing it for the whole company and what that means on a periodized and scalable and effective manner.
How many Icon passes were sold for this season compared to last season?
We had I'm sure there's people from Vail on this call, so I'm not going to answer that question quite as specifically as it was asked. I apologize for that. But we have a similar number of passes as what we've ever had. Sales have been very good, and I'll be vague about that. We are managing that great pass sale volume by, as I said before, restricting the sales of paid ticket products.
What about friends and family passes for Icon Pass? Is that still going to be done in person?
We're not planning on doing it in person at present, and we are still working out the logistics on how to perform that as an online transaction. And there's more to come on that, and we'll be communicating directly to our pass holders on how to get those friends and family. But the program itself is still in place and will be for the coming winter.
As a ski trip leader for Santa Barbara Ski and Sport Club, what is the best way to stay current with Icon passes or ticket buying reservations?
The best ways are through our social media channels and through our website. As we get more information, we're constantly updating those channels. You can also phone 1-800-MAMMOTH to our vacation specialists, and they'll be able to give you the current information.
Will you be posting mask guidelines on the website and in signage to help people prepare for their visits so they have appropriate face coverings?
100%. We've been doing that all summer, and we'll continue to do so as we go into winter operations.
When will single day tickets go on sale for advanced purchase?
They'll be in the not too distant future. Within the coming 7 to 10 days is our plan.
How will parking be managed this season?
Parking will be similar to how we've parked all summer and how we parked last winter. We have a great parking team. We are very fortunate in the availability of parking from Eagle to Canyon, as well as the whole road from Chair 4 all the way to Main Lodge. So we'll be managing parking the same way as we have done. We have more parking resources, as in our parking team attendance, and it'll continue as it has been. It's been very successful this summer. We still have a great partnership, as Dan and Bill said at the start of this conversation, with ESTA, and they'll continue the shuttle service as we go into the winter, along with the trolley for people to park and ride. Those at present, those public transportation systems are operating at 50% capacity, as is the COVID ordinance in the region as well as the state.
Do you have any estimate on lift line impact from the changes in single riders and mixed groups?
They'll definitely be longer depending on the type of weather and the amount of lifts that we do have open at times. If I go back to, I'm not sure if everyone on the call is aware, or even if they skied in the 2 weeks prior to the 15th of March closing, we actually operated under the social distancing parameters that we're going to start this winter season. And during that time, as I said, we have a very good lift infrastructure. And when the lifts can run at full speed, we can generally keep up with the volume on busy days during normal operations. As we restrict capacity, we're confident that we'll still be able to give a great guest experience and have people enjoy the environment. But I won't beat around the bush. There is potential for longer lift lines on certain days, and it will take us longer to get open as we go into this winter. We have a big mountain at Mammoth and a big mountain at Experience at June, and they involve our highly experienced patrollers and other teammates, mitigating avalanche hazards, our lift maintenance personnel getting lifts open in some pretty full-on conditions. And we're not going to put the pressure on our team to do anything unsafe. And they obviously have to respect the social distancing parameters that everyone else has as well. So it may take us a wee bit longer to get open, and we definitely are looking forward to having a team feeling amongst our guests as well as our actual employees, and respecting how much effort will go into getting us open safely.
How will the gondola passengers be handled for people who are not of the same household or group? I'm assuming people of the same household and group will be allowed to ride in the same gondola.
Yeah, we've had that all summer, where the same traveling party who arrive at the mountain ride together. We won't ask people who aren't comfortable riding with others to do so. That's one of our principles. As we move towards the winter, we're still finalizing what those capacity protocols are going to be on enclosed lifts. At present, as I said, we have 50% capacity on buses. The time for a gondola ride is very short, and you can ventilate with the windows open, et cetera, et cetera. So we're still working with Tom and Dan and others to finalize those capacities.
Speaking of capacity, how will mountain capacity be managed on storm days where half the mountain is on hold due to weather or avalanche control and everyone is funneled into the lower lifts and mountain?
Yeah, it's definitely a challenge. So the first item there is really being restrictive on that paid ticket visitation and having a baseline visit that doesn't cause severe impact. Obviously, we have real mountains and we have weather that is very serious, as we all know, and it will at times restrict the opening of the upper mountain. On those days, to start with, we can't plan those days a lot of the time. We wake up at 2 or 3 in the morning and figure out that no one knows where Dave hid the fan switch, and the winds are howling. So until we find that fan switch, there's no guarantees of managing the weather, unfortunately. But on those specific days, our marketing department will be using our social media as well as direct communication methods to ask people to be patient. And we're asking people to take their time. Don't head to the mountain just to sit in a lodge to wait. We'll keep you up to date. We have the best marketing team in the business. We have the best social media communication that exists in any mountain across the planet, let alone in the US. So we'll be keeping you up to date with current conditions, and we ask you to be patient. At a very rudimentary level, if we do need to manage it on a daily operating basis, it'll be restricting access to the main lodge and limiting cars up the road. Same thing, counting people in and out of our lodges. And we ask people to be patient with that. We want to do the right thing by people and keep our guests happy, but we certainly want to be open and then remain open for the benefit of our community and for people to enjoy the mountain for the whole season. And we ask that you respect that, along with, as I've said, social distancing and face mask usage.
A few more questions regarding capacity and reservation systems. Without a reservation system, how will you manage on-mountain guest capacity? Could Icon pass holders be turned away at the lift on a busy day?
At present, we have no plans for a reservation system for Icon pass holders. We know that group of guests or teammates, whatever you want to call them, very well. We have a long history of pass holders at Mammoth in June, and we have a large amount of historical data that we understand behaviors. As I said previously, we think people will come more in off-peak times than they have done before, but we're not planning a reservation system for Icon pass holders. We're planning on managing through our paid ticket visitation, which is a huge commitment financially, as well as guest service to those people who aren't our regular visitors. It's a huge commitment to our icon and local pass holders that we're committed to doing for this coming winter. So we are going to restrict visits, and we're going to restrict them through the paid ticket selling. And we know how to do that. We've been doing it for very many years, and we have all the channels to do that diligently.
How early will a person have to buy their lift ticket?
Depending on demand, it could be as early as 7 to 10 days from now when they first go on sale. People will be purchasing for those peak visitation periods, and there will be limited amounts on sale to start with. We're going to keep them very much restricted to begin with. And as we understand the season, the amount of snow, the amount of our guest behavior, we'll then assess as to release more. But to start with, I would purchase them as soon as possible.
Will people be able to go to the parking lot to have a lunch in their cars?
They can, sorry, they can do at present. So they may want to warm up in their vehicles. They may want to grab some grab and go, have their lunch. We don't restrict that behavior at present, and we're not planning on doing so going forward.
And just another clarification on the parking question. In the response regarding parking, it was unclear how it will work. It was said it would be the same as before, but what was it before? Are they parking cars every other spot or anything like that?
No, we're not going to park cars every other spot. The way that people arrive, they can park and socially distance as they exit their vehicles. They can wait for other people to leave, and we want to give people the best guest experience. So our parking will be just as I described it. We will still have paid parking, which we have at Eagle, Canyon, and Main, and that will still be in effect for the coming winter. And apologize for not describing that better earlier on.
A few questions about June Mountain. Are there any plans to open June Mountain's J1 earlier in the morning on busy days?
Yeah, we're definitely looking at that as part of June's operating plan, and the capacity that lift has specifically. We think with the restriction of paid tickets at June as well as Mammoth, that we're going to manage that capacity to have a very good guest experience at June, which will allow good access in the morning. But we're definitely assessing all those options.
Will lockers be available, daily or annual paid lockers?
So with our day lockers, we're starting off the season at 50% capacity to manage those areas of our lodges to have social distancing. We still have our season pass locker program in place for the coming winter. We are asking those guests to respect social distancing, obviously, and also to limit their time at their locker to 15 minutes or less. And we will be monitoring that and asking people to be cognizant of other people accessing their equipment.
Given the desire to limit on-mountain guest numbers, will employees be able to ski and ride on their off days?
Yeah, we're planning on letting our employees enjoy the mountain they come to serve others on. We do, and there's nothing different to our regular operations. At times, we do ask our employees when we have limited conditions and very high visitation to not go skiing or riding until after 2 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon. And we'll be continuing to monitor that and manage that part of the operation through those mechanisms.
How will the social distancing protocols be enforced in lift lines?
We have great lift operators and attendants, and we call the people that are in the lift lines our orchestrators, and they'll be asking people to adhere to social distancing guidelines. We do have what we call a ghost lane being implemented, which is actually an actual lane in the maze that create social distancing. And then just by the nature of the equipment, the length of skis provide for social distancing. But we'll be monitoring that with our personnel as well as signage and the design of those mazes.
How will ski rentals be managed? In person, or can I reserve in advance?
And definitely, we'd love for you to reserve in advance. We do know that people will come and need items, so there will be day of needs of our guests. But we have a great advanced reservation program, which actually has your equipment pre-sized and fitted and in a locker, so you don't have to have any physical contact. We do also have we will have restrictions on how many people in our rental facilities and the length of time that they're in there. We're at present building containers that go out on the snow in those high volume areas of rental. So you'll get your boots inside in the warmth and get fitted there, and then you'll move to say chair 11 for your beginner lesson, and you'll receive your skis closer to that lift through a mobile fitting station where we'll be stocking our skis and snowboard rental equipment.
Will there be singles lines? If you are skiing alone, will you ride the chair alone?
We're not going to have single lines at present. Due to what I said, we're not going to ask people who don't want to ride with another person not to. So we'll be utilizing the regular maze for all people. And we ask that like parties arrive at the load board ready to load with their cohorts. We've been utilizing this for those of you who don't or have never experienced Mammoth summer operations. We've been running chairs 2, 11 in the gondola all summer and utilizing those operating procedures to good effect.
Will ski races take place this season?
We're working very closely with the US Ski and Snowboard Association to have races and events. We think they're an important part of our kids' development. Obviously, we've got to do these things safely, but at present, we're planning on figuring out how to do that, and we're committed to doing that. There's the lift riding aspect, obviously. There's the top of a ski race where there's a large congregation possibility, so we have to manage through that. And we also have to manage those events within our calendar. And I wouldn't imagine that on President's Day weekend, we'll be having a lot of events because it'll put too much pressure on regular operations, but we're planning on doing our best to figure out how to support those kids' activities.
A few questions regarding enforcement of face masks. Following up on the question about not allowing perforated or ventilated face masks, how could that be enforced?
You know, we've seen it this summer with single layer bandanas. We, as an example, we have a large number of disposable face masks that do comply with our protocols. And we found that by educating those guests in a very proactive manner and asking them to trade out, people are very happy to support our operations. We have a customer at Mammoth in June who really talked about Dave earlier on. A lot of our Icon pass holders now have so much ownership of the experience and of our enjoying our community and our mountain that we generally don't have a lot of issues with being a good teammate at our mountain. So we're very confident that through our frontline staff and the ability to trade out a non-compliant mask. Also, by the time you get to a ski lift, you've passed a lot of our team on the way there, and something that we're very much proactively educating and helping people make the right decision to enjoy our mountains safely, as well as stay open for the whole season. So we're very confident that our team will march in the same direction.
How are you managing screening and testing for those in employee housing?
We have a system that we're about to implement where people who arrive at employee housing will be tested, and we'll turn around those results, make sure that we have, first of all, people that are of the same friendship group, et cetera, staying together. And we, like I said, we'll be testing them as they arrive and then have an ongoing testing protocol. And then we do have the ability to help if we need to quarantine our employees and provide that resource for them to rehab and get back into the workforce, as long as they're complying with the Mono County health protocols.
Assuming you have ample amounts of snow, will you have enough employees to run lifts at full capacity?
Yeah, it has been very surprising that our pacing for employees and new team members has been going as well as it has been. It's better than it has been in the past few years, and we're very confident that we'll have a full team this year of very committed teammates.
On a lighter note, when is the new beanie going up in Big Pine?
That's definitely not for sure. I get LB's laughing because I'm not to be trusted with those secrets. More to come.
Will we have more restrooms and warming huts?
Yeah, we've changed the configuration of a number of our areas to have more indoor seating that is social distancing compliant. We have a number of restrooms that weren't previously online that have been refurbished with that COVID contingency capital this summer. And we'll also have portable restrooms available in those peak capacity areas. But the warming up is a very serious question on a storm day. First of all, it starts with us communicating with our guests about what operations are actually available as we open the mountain first thing in the morning, and those guests understanding really what the limitations are with wind, et cetera. And then as we get into the actual operation of the day, we do have those new venues that have different seating configurations. The roof of Canyon Lodge with patio heaters is one area. We've taken some areas within Canyon Lodge and changed the seating there from those big round tables to be more effective for different groups. You don't have to just have 8 people of the same family to sit at a certain area. But we are also going to be managing those areas. And we're going to ask our guests to be respectful of each other and turn over their table and make sure we're enjoying the mountains together and supporting each other.
Will lodge bars be open?
We will have the ability to grab a beer or a drink, but there will be no belly up service at this time. And we'll have, like I said, different beachfront, as we call the snow beach in front of the lodges. We have different seating operations. A lot of our most loyal customers enjoy the mill, and we've expanded the seating there as well as the quick service there. So you will be able to indulge yourself in a well-earned refreshment, but it won't be sitting at the bar while doing so.
A few questions about operations at Tamarack. Are you expecting higher usage of Tamarack this season?
I hope a lot of people discover Tamarack and the jewel that it is in the Mammoth and June Crown. It is a beautiful part of the world, but just by the nature of, and I speak about myself and my own personal limitations at that altitude and cross-country skiing, the way that Tamarack operates, we'll have a different rental facility for snowshoes and or rental process for snowshoes as well as Nordic equipment. But the nature of Tamarack, with the amount of trails that we have up there and the actual space, there's no capacity restrictions up there at present. And we'll be monitoring the amount of passes that we have up there and utilizing the same protocols with paid tickets to manage that. But I don't perceive any sort of limitations on Tamarack, because a beautiful, expansive area, and it's definitely lends itself to social distancing recreation for sure.
Are you going to extend hours of operations in order to spread out foot traffic of guest services such as rentals?
And we always adapt our services, using rental as an example. You can, in previous years, you could rent up until midnight at Canyon Lodge in order to manage those peak days. So we'll continue to do that and adapt our operations for best guest service and also safe operations. The one thing that I did say, and it's not specific to indoor business, but we will be patient with our team as we open the mountain this year, and we're going to definitely be very diligent in protecting our entire team as we go about our business, and not put any extra pressure on those valuable employees.
When single day tickets go on sale, will it be for the entire season or just certain months, such as November, December, only later months later?
No, we understand our historical visitation well enough that we'll be opening it up as those products come online as soon as possible for the entire season. We want to make sure that people have the options they require and do our best by them. And as we see what the season brings, we'll be adapting those levels of sales in order to increase them, if that makes sense.
Will there be a Night of Lights this season?
I would love to have a Night of Lights. At present, that is not in the plans with regard to it being a large 10,000 person activity. I'm sure we're going to get Dan, though, to go to the top of Dave's and shoot off a few fireworks for us just to keep us amused. But at present, Night of Lights is a very challenging event at the best of times, but the sheer volume of people, we're not planning on it at present, and it is a disappointment to the team. But as I've said a number of times, we want to be open and stay open as we go through this season. I see Dan nodding. He's ready to go. Be careful.
Being that there will be pre-ticket sales, will the mountain be able to forecast daily attendance in advance, possibly send information out to business owners in town?
We'll do our best to do that and be collaborative with the business owners for sure, and give an idea of what volume we're going to be anticipating. At present, though, we're working on those systems. Once they're developed, we'll be able to share those, or share some of that information to help our partners manage their businesses to the best of their abilities. Good question.
This may be a question for the larger group, but we've seen a few of them. Have you developed threshold criteria in terms of local cases, employee positivity, or state or county infections that would lead to a full shutdown again?
As much as I like my Scottish scientific background, I'm going to pass that one over to Tom Boo, because there are specific parameters for the county. Tom, would you like to talk to that?
Yeah, thanks, Mark. But I'm sorry, Lauren, could you repeat the question?
Yes. Have you developed threshold criteria in terms of local cases, employee positivity, or state or county infections that would lead to a full shutdown again?
No, we haven't, a priori, at this time, developed thresholds like that. We'll take it as it comes, and look at the situation and available information, and make the best decision that we can for the safety and well-being of the community, and also of course considering the economic aspects, but safety first.
Will tables for dining be cleaned between parties?
Yes, they will. We're currently doing that in all of our operations, and that's one of our increased sanitization protocols.
For people that have already purchased reservations for early season lodging, will they be guaranteed lift ticket reservations for the date of their stay?
No, we won't be guaranteeing lift ticket reservations for lodging that is purchased. People need to book their lift tickets, as we've discussed previously, and we'll be managing our capacity through those paid ticket programs.
Will there be a Saturday parade for the kids?
You're talking about Willie's parade in the village. At present, no is the answer, but it's one of the items we want to obviously animate and keep our young enthusiasts happy. But that's a gathering of a large number of people, and we won't be operating that as we start the season.
Here is a question regarding disposable masks. They might stay on a mountain bike rider at 10 to 15 miles per hour, but do they stay on a steep run at 40 to 50 miles per hour?
First of all, be careful doing 40 or 50 miles an hour on steep runs. And like I said previously, get on the balls of your feet, because that'll help somewhat. But like I said, to start with, LB, we're requiring the use of masks indoors, outdoors, on our lifts. But once you're at the top of a run and you're socially distanced and you're ready to drop in, you can drop your mask.
Okay, we probably have time for one more question here before we close it out. Do you think there will be a big financial impact for Mammoth with the new protocols this season?
Yeah, definitely. Yes is the answer. We have a large number of enhanced cleaning protocols. We have different levels of staffing, as we've chatted about earlier this evening. And also, by restricting capacity and restricting that through paid ticket visitation, there'll definitely be an impact to Mammoth and June going throughout this season. And but it's a sign of Altera, Rusty, and our commitment to our Icon pass holders, and making sure that that part of our global mountain community is looked after to the highest level possible through our methodologies. That that financial impact will come, but we really do care about our pass holders and making sure that they're respected during these times. So I know you said that was the last question, LB. I'll just wrap the meeting up. I'd like to thank everyone on the call for participating. I'd like to thank the partnerships that we have with our town businesses, the town of Mammoth Lakes, the leadership team there under Dan, Tom Boo and the Mono County Public Health Office, and our Forest Service. These are very challenging times, and it's been inspiring to me to see that our community works together as a team to support our region and our people. And I say that from the bottom of my heart. As we get more information and more specifics about the winter, and that could mean what day we're going to operate, we'll share that through our marketing mechanisms as best we can. And as soon as we can, we're in the business of being transparent, and we love our guests to know as much as us. It's part of how we do business, from Dave to Rusty to myself. And if anyone on the call feels like this was a good interaction, please give a thumbs up in the chat, and we'll take your vote on whether we should do this again in the not too distant future. But thanks to everyone. Be safe, be happy, and I look forward to seeing you on the mountain during the coming winter. Good night.